One of the major aims of government is to ensure economic growth in the national economy. Economic growth. Economic growth means that the value of all goods distributed in an economy is growing. So if we have our output, we would see an increase in terms of the value of all the goods produced in an economy. This output is also sometimes referred to as GDP, for gross domestic product. Economists will refer to economic growth in two ways. They say that it can occur in our short run as well as in the long run. When growth occurs in the short run, this is what's considered actual economic growth. This is because this type of growth makes more efficient use of the resources that are actually available at the present time. This can actually be visualized on a production possibility frontier. If you recall, the production possibility frontier shows the ability of a producer to produce two different types of goods. So on our first axis, the vertical axis, we would show one good, we'll call it good A. And on the horizontal axis, we'll have good B. We first learned about the production possibility frontier when we were discussing the topic of opportunity cost. We saw that as we moved along the curve from one point to another point, we would actually be gaining an additional quantity of, in this case, good B, but we'd sacrifice some quantity of good A. The frontier of the PPF represents the total amount of resources available for production. Here's our frontier. In other words, it is the absolute limit of output in the short run. Production points outside of the curve do not exist. A point here would be impossible. However, any point inside the line would be considered inefficient, as it doesn't make maximum use of all the available resources. Actual economic growth requires the producers in an economy to make more efficient use of their available resources. In this way, they are moving from some point inside of the curve, an inefficient production point, closer to the short-run limit of production. Once aggregate supply is moved all the way out to the curve, or the frontier, the producers can make no more because there simply aren't enough resources available to them. In the long run, however, we cannot say that all resources are fixed. It is possible for new resources to become available, or for the quality of available resources to improve such that they become even more efficient. In the long run, economic growth occurs because the economy has increased its productivity potential. This allows it to sustain economic growth even after it bumps up against the initial production possibility curve. So we refer to this type of economic growth as potential economic growth. So in the short run, we have actual economic growth, whereas in the long run, we have what's called potential economic growth. The way this looks is we'll actually introduce a second frontier. We're going to push the initial frontier outward. Since there are now more resources available, or at least a better quality of the resources in the economy has now gained new potential to increase its output. One example of this increase in available resources could be in terms of population. As more and more people are born, and as they become healthier, they live longer lives, the increase in the country's population will allow those people to produce more goods. Additionally, the same number of people could also potentially produce more goods. As people receive more education, their human capital increases. This knowledge provides new skills that allow people to be more efficient. Without the increase in the quality of this human resource, an increase in output would not have been possible.